In the previous tutorial, we saw how to create IAM users, groups, managed policies, and how to control access to S3 buckets using the principle of least privilege, all defined as infrastructure as code. If you haven't watched that video yet, I highly recommend checking it out because every next learning builds on previous learning. So, in this section, we are going to create a static website hosted on AWS using AWS CDK. This is the infrastructure diagram that we are going to achieve today. So this is roughly the diagram that we are going to achieve today. So we will be creating a S3 bucket and we will be hosting some index.html assets inside this S3 bucket via the CDK code. The S3 bucket itself will have public read access so that the contents inside the S3 buckets, which is the static website for now, can be publicly accessible via the public URL. So we will also generate or do the CloudFormation output in order to generate the public website URL, and that will be visible in our command line tools. So this is a very common real-world case: hosting portfolios, documentation sites, landing pages, or even front-end applications built with React, Next.js. But for our tutorial purpose, we are going to deploy a plain HTML and we'll just see how we can access it via the public URL. We'll define everything as infrastructure as code, deploy our website files automatically, and finally get a public website URL from AWS. So this public website URL can also be viewed in the AWS console itself, or we can also generate it in our terminal here. Yeah, so let's jump into the code. Let's create a folder in the file in the leave folder, as we have been doing always. So CDK s3 stack.ts. Like always, let's import all the libraries which we are going to use here. Today there is one extra library, which is node.js path, that we will be using that module to locate our website folder. So we will also be importing that here. So let me import all of the required imports here. This time we are importing this S3 deploy because we want to deploy our website in the S3 bucket. Likewise, so this path is something new that we are importing, and also this S3 deploy because we want to deploy the static website. And path is because we want to give path to where our index.html file is living. So let's create the class itself based on this name. Extends CDK stack. Like so. Okay, now we will create our S3 bucket and configure it for static web hosting. The bucket is made publicly readable so users can access it through a browser. So let's create it. Let's give it a name. Remember, it should be unique. And let's provide the index.html file, which is the index document that will be hosted. Website index document, and it should be index.html. So we specify this index.html is the entry point for our website. Index.html is the actual file which can live in the folder, for example, website slash index.html. So this is what we are going to create, or actually I have already created this here, just to save time. So this index.html is already inside this website folder, which is this website folder itself is in the root folder of this main folder. And let's not forget to give it a public read access true, because it will make our website publicly accessible. Block public access, which blocks all the access control levels only. Uh, so we explicitly configured public accessing using this, which allows public policies to block access control levels only, which is only for public safety, because we explicitly configured this public access using this block ACLs only, which allows public policies but blocks other ACL based access. So it is a safe way, and this is also a recommended way. Uh, but however, we have given this public read access, so the bucket object will be accessible from the internet, which means we will be able to view the hosted website later. Likewise, removal policy to destroy, auto delete objects also true. So I hope you have already got to know about these two policies. This way we can easily destroy our this bucket once we hit this CDK destroy command. Now that we created website bucket, next what we can do is we'll create this deployment itself. And now destination bucket, we have to mention destination bucket, and the destination bucket should be this website bucket. So this is the deployment bucket. So what we have just done here is we created the instance of deployment bucket deployment, and we gave it a destination bucket. So which bucket we want to deploy in our infrastructure. So this is website bucket we want to deploy. So this is the destination bucket. What do we want to deploy into that website bucket is so the source is this one, the website and the content inside the website. And the content inside the website will be index.html, and the folder, the directory name that we want to deploy the contents from is website. So website is the file, the folder which I have already created here, as I mentioned earlier, and there is this index.html file inside. So this index.html is the actual index that we want to deploy, and this lives in this folder. So this is the source path we mentioned like this. And now the final step is let's generate the CloudFormation output to get the URL for the website like this. The value will be the bucket website URL. Can be anything like this. So here We defined a CloudFormation output that prints the S3 website URL after we do the deployment. So this makes it very easy to copy the URL and access the website directly from the browser. We can also go to the console, AWS console, and check it from there also. So let's import this stack in the bin, like always. Import it. There is one issue. Argument of type is not assignable to parameter of type is string. Okay, so type string. So we have provided a string in the ID field. It should have been simply string. And let's check it. Yeah, it's okay, and this is imported correctly. Save it, and let's synthesize this first, just in case there is any issue. We will see it when we do this CDK synth. Yeah, this looks okay, and let's deploy it. Yes, and CloudFormation is happening, so let's check it here in the meantime. Create in progress. So it should create a S3 bucket and host the index.html there. Okay, it has created hello static website, which is the name we have given. And there is I think the work is still continuing because we are not able to see this index.html yet. Let's wait until this ends. Yes, and now this is complete. Let's check if there is index.html. Here it is. Yes, so it has also generated this link, the link to our website. Yeah, so this is the static website hosted on AWS S3 bucket. We can also get this link here, copy it, paste it, hit enter, and you get this. Amazing. Yes, I really appreciate that you have made it this far. This is amazing. So as we already built a static website using Amazon S3 and AWS CDK, this is a perfect beginning. In the next video, we are going to take this into the next level and build a real full stack serverless application on AWS. So we will also be using Amazon DynamoDB for our database, Node.js Lambda functions, and also we will be using the get and post operations in order to make post request and get request. So if you want to understand how S3, Lambda, DynamoDB, API Gateway, and the AWS SDK all work together in a real world setup, make sure you don't miss the next video. Yeah, so we will also be touching a little bit of AWS SDK. So remember this. So we are so far doing CDK, but we will also be using AWS SDK in the next video. So thanks for watching and see you in the next one.